Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly meeting of the Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals. At this time, anyone who can, I'd appreciate if you stand and say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now call the meeting to order, and standard statements, anybody got a cell phone, please silence it. For those of you who do not have a copy of the agenda or who are attending for the first time, we will concern ourselves with cases that are on consent. These are cases that have been reviewed by the board and by the various departments in the county, and there are no known opposition at this time. We've discussed these in our work session. Certain staff comments and stipulations have been made, and we do not anticipate any further discussion is needed for a decision. So now I will turn this over to our county division, zoning division manager, Mr. Peterson, who will read each case into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we start the consent agenda, there are two cases on today's agenda which have been continued, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is variance case V44, Aqua Design Pools and Spas LLC. This case has been continued until the November 9th, 2022 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. So we will not hear V44 today. Second case is variance case V100, David Pete and Rebecca Pete. This case was continued by the staff until the November 9th, 2022 Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. So V100 will not be heard today. Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for October 12th, 2022. First case on consent is variance case V105, Renata Borges McDonald's request a variance for number one, allow a second electrical meter on a residential property. Number two, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 1,176 square foot barn garage apartment to be located to the front of the principal building. And number three, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 1,176 square foot barn garage apartment required 100 feet to 12 feet adjacent to the south property line, which is existing, in land lot 256 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of River Ridge Drive and on the southwesterly side of Wesley Chapel Road, east of Shoemaker Court. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to number one, development inspections comments, and number two, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V105? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V106, SEC BA LLC, request a variance. Number one, allow a freestanding sign that is a ground-based monument style to be request a variance to allow a freestanding sign that is a ground-based monument style sign. And number two, allow a freestanding sign to be closer than 42 feet, which is 26 feet proposed feet from center line of a local road right-of-way line in land lot 885 of the 17th district. The property is located on the south side of Burt Adams Road, east of Cumberland Parkway. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to number one, traffic comments, and number two, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V106? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V107, Juan C. Guevara requests a variance to number one, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 544 square foot frame shed number one, from required 30 feet to 10 feet, which is an existing condition. Number two, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 560 square foot frame shed number two, from required 30 feet to 5 feet, which is existing. And number three, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for an approximately 560 square foot frame shed number two, required 10 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the south property line, which is existing. in land lot 644 of the 19th District. The property is located on the west side of Over Lake Run, southwest of Old Barn Trail. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to number 1, development inspections comments, number 2, stormwater management comments, number 3, fire department comments, and number 4, no residential or commercial use. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V107? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V108, Stephen Andrew Neal requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is an approximately 740 square foot proposed structure to be located to the front of the principal building. Number 2, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an approximately 740 square foot proposed structure from required 100 feet to 42 feet adjacent to the south property line. And number 3, allow a second electrical meter on a residential property in land lot 301 of the 20th District. The property is located on the east side of Mars Hill Road, south of Due West Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, fire department comments, and number 2, no commercial or dwelling use of the accessory structure. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V108? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case of V109, Brian Brooking requests a variance to number 1, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure under 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 280 square foot pavilion required 30 feet to 19 feet. And number 2, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 35% to 40.06% in land lot 484 of the 16th District. The property is located on the south side of Bryant Point Drive, west of Bryant Lane. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V109? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V110, 4850 Due West LLC requests a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 2,400 square foot barn required 100 feet to 30 feet adjacent to the east property line. Number 2, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 3,542 square foot garage from required 100 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the west property line, which is existing. And number 3, allow a second electrical meter on a residential lot in land lot 299 of the 20th District. The property is located on the north side of Due West Road, east of Old Mountain Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to number 1, development inspections comments, and number 2, fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V110? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V111, SH Creel Contracting requests a variance to allow pool equipment to the side of the house in land lot 892 of the 17th District. The property is located on the south side of Atlee Woods Drive, west of Vinings Canton Bend. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V111, SH Creel Contracting? Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V111? No. Madam Chair and Board, there's no one opposed, and the applicant is not present at this point in time. Variance case V112, Adeleki Thomas and Ewell Ma Thomas request a variance to number 1, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 35% to 42.7% in land lot 458 of the 16th District. The property is located at the eastern terminus of Ashmore Hall Drive, north of Davis Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V112? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. And I apologize for butchering your names. Variance case V113, Kenneth and Glenda Smith request a variance to number 1, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for a proposed approximately 2,400 square foot garage from required 100 feet to 20 feet adjacent to the east property line on parcel A. Number 2, allow an accessory structure and existing approximately 1,500 square foot carport to be located in front of the principal building on parcel B, which is existing. Number 3, reduce the side setbacks for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 1,500 square foot carport, required 100 feet to 10 feet adjacent to the south property line, and to 90 feet adjacent to the east property line, and to 80 feet adjacent to the west property line on parcel B, and that condition is existing. Number 4, allow an accessory structure and existing approximately 1,600 square foot detached garage to be located to the side of the principal building on parcel B, and that is existing. Number 5, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 1,600 square foot detached garage from required 100 feet to 40 feet adjacent to the west property line on parcel B, and that is also existing. And number 6, reduce the side setback for an accessory structure over 650 square feet for an existing approximately 2,400 square foot barn from required 100 feet to 70 feet adjacent to the north property line on parcel D. The property is located in land lots 706 and 707 of the 16th district and is located on the east side of Addison Road, north of Kincaid Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to fire department comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V113? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V1.
Ms. Peterson, want to?
Yeah, I would like to abstain from this case V113, please.
Okay, V113, okay. Got it, okay, thank you. All right, next case is variance case V114, Mark and Dana Childers, trustees, request a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 23 feet, which is existing, in land lot 214 of the first district. The property is located on the south side of River Mill Circle, east of Primrose Patch. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to number 1, letter from Mr. Adam Rosen, dated September 28th, 2022, which shows a 22.6-foot existing rear setback. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of V114? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V115, Michael A. and Linda Turner. Turner request a variance to number 1, reduce the lot width and front setback line for parcel B from required 75 feet to 48.8 feet. And number 2, reduce the front setback from required 45 feet to 28 feet on parcel C, which is existing, in land lots 706 and 707 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Addison Road, north of Kincaid Road. The Board of Zoning Appeals recommends approval, subject to fire department comments. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V115? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed.
I would also like to abstain from case V115.
Okay, V115. And that completes the consent agenda, Madam Chair and Board.
Are there any comments, questions, and concerns on these cases from anyone?
I just have to make sure that this is clarified, is that on V106, that it's a correction to what is in the book, and that it allow a freestanding sign that is a ground-based monument style. So I just want to make sure that that was noted, that it's a correction.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything else? Based on the fact Ms. Summerhour has recused herself from 2 votes, we still will vote on the whole consent agenda as one item. That is correct, Mr. Johnson?
That is acceptable to the discretion of the board, yes.
Yes. All right, if everyone please place their vote on the consents. The consent agenda items have passed 5-0. Thank you. say a motion? No, I just sorry. We're all just, sorry, folks.
Okay, Madam
All right.
Chair, I
Thank
move that
you,
we
Fred.
adopt the consent agenda with the corrections as noted and with the note that the District 3 member has recused herself from or abstained from voting on
113 and 115.
two matters, 115 and
113.
113. Thank you.
I second.
Okay, we'll do it right this time. All right, place your votes. All right, it is passed 5-0. Sorry for jumping over that. We're just on a roll, aren't we? Okay. Now we're ready to proceed with our regular case agenda.
Okay.
And our procedure here is that Mr. Peterson will read a case into the record. Applicant or his representatives of the applicant who wishes to speak will be asked to come forward to be sworn in. Likewise, anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be asked to come forward and be sworn in as well. The applicant and the opposition will have 10 minutes each to present their case. All testimony will be made from the podium to my right, where we have full AV capabilities. Testimony will be followed by questions from the board and may be directed to either party. A reminder, once comments from all parties related to the case have concluded and the public hearing has been closed, there can be no further comments from parties involved unless requested by a member of the board, at which point you'll be asked to return to the podium. With that, Mr. Peterson, our first case.
Okay, and all those folks that were on consent agenda, you're free to leave. Just leave quietly. Thank you. Okay, first case we're going to hear is variance case of B98 Everest Developers LLC, who request a variance to, number one, reduce the front setback from required 40 feet to 25 feet. Number two, reduce the number of required parking spaces from 57 to 43. And number three, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 70% to 72% in land lots 210 and 211 of the 20th District. The property is located at the northern intersection of Cobb Parkway and Gross Chapel Road. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case of B98? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed to variance case of B98.
Hey, Brad. Can I have a clicker? Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman. For the record, my name's Garvis Sams. I'm with the law firm Sams, Larkin, and Huff.
Mr. Sams, bear with me just a minute. I wanted to ask the members of the board if they wanted to have time to review these documents.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's quite all right, sir.
That's
But
fine.
I'd like to have a moment. I think everybody else would. Thank you.
Just FYI, none of it's new. It's been either submitted with a stip letter or whatever, but that's fine. Y'all take your time.
appreciate that. Just go right ahead, sir.
Well, you're certainly most welcome, Madam Chairwoman. Again, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Garvis Sams with the firm of Sams, Larkin, and Huff, and I've got the privilege of representing Everest developers concerning this application. Got representatives of the company right there, the family seated together. So they and I, or our engineer, can respond to any questions you may have at the appropriate time. The property at issue is shown here outlined in blue. This is an approximate 1.69 acre tract of land. As you can see, it's located at the intersection there of Greer's Chapel Road and Cobb Parkway, or very close to that signalized intersection. For decades, it has been zoned GC. I'm assuming it was zoned, because we can't find any minutes otherwise, that it was brought in 1972 as a part of the comprehensive rezoning. Some of you weren't born at that time, but in any event, that's historically, that's the way they did it, stripping both sides of Cobb Parkway to either neighborhood activity center or community activity centers, and this is one of those, and it came in zone GC. But it's been sitting there laying undeveloped and idle for a number of years. There's a house on it, but the house hadn't been utilized in 30 years, so it's really not repurposable, not for what we're looking for. The property, as you can see, is in an area, the totality of which is in a community activity center, which is in red. Again, there's the subject property outlined in blue. As you can see across Greer's Chapel, that's high-density residential. Other than that, everything else around it is GC and within a CAC. This is our site plan. This is a proposal for a convenience store with fuel cells, but also, and maybe more importantly, ancillary retail that goes with this. We have looked and searched, and the closest grocery component is the Whole Foods that I rezoned as a part of the anchor for the Fuqua mixed-use development there at the corner of Cobb Parkway and Barrett Parkway. So you've got that store, then you've got a Publix at 041 and Barrett that's about a mile away. This will have a grocery component, have a retail component. Haven't exactly decided the mixture of uses, but you can see now that these clients have adopted a novel approach in that their C-store, the store itself is about half the size of what Quick Trip and Racetrack put out there at about 6,200 square feet. And the reason for that is because they want to have the opportunity to do a restaurant, as you can see on that end cap, and then retail for the balance of that. So we've got 2,996 square feet for the convenience store, 6,460 for the retail, and then 1,800-foot restaurant. And I know I don't need to tell you this, for goodness sakes, you're the Board of Zoning Appeals, but I anticipated we might have some opposition, and so I wanted to make sure that you understand, that I understand that I've got a burden of showing a hardship to you as a Board of Zoning Appeals. I just can't say we'll make more money if we have this relief. But we do have a hardship, and the hardship is due and owing to a literal interpretation or enforcement of ordinance provisions, which would work a hardship. This property, as you can see, has triple road frontage, which makes it difficult. It has topographical aspects, has it falling away from the roads and going back down, so the topo's difficult. In addition to that, from our original borings, it looks like there may be some rock, but it doesn't look like it's the kind of rock that's going to need any blasting, and we can work around. And of course, there's very onerous strictures regarding blasting. And what would you expect around Kennesaw Mountain except to find some sort of subterranean rock formations? Also, by way of hardship, the site has a sort of an irregular configuration. It's there at a signalized intersection there at Cobb Parkway and Greer's Chapel. And then lastly, across the frontage of this, and then all the other properties, I guess going in either north or south, there's a 54-inch water main that's owned, managed, operated by the Cobb County Marietta Water Authority. Our engineers have been in touch with theirs. We established a dialogue probably a year and a half ago with them, because we realized they had to give, even though there's the possibility of being able to traverse that 54-inch pipe, it's all dependent upon grade, location, and pounds per square inch, and a number of different variables. But one of your stipulations that staff put forth is that we need to comply. I think that's the word they use. So we are, and we have. There's also a power easement that traverses the property as well. Now there is a, and this is the opposition I was expecting. There's a Chevron store directly across the street from this, a C-store. I think it's now turned to Shell. It's a building that was built 2.5 years ago, but they can't get sewer, or they don't have sewer. One of my partners, Parks Huff, had to go up to Kennesaw today and went by there just to confirm that it's still not operational. And the sewer studies were done back in 2020. So we really don't have anybody that would oppose this except from a competitive standpoint, and they're not here because they're not up running or as I said, operational. Just
Interrupt you just for a second.
Certainly.
On your first slide there, the blue is actually the incorrect highlighted parcel. It's the one
You're correct.
down below. I just wanted the board, that might be confusing.
That's a good point, Ms. Summerer, and my bad. My bad on that.
No problem.
But there you go. There's the site plan that shows you. It's the piece right next door, I think, that's showing on the handouts we have. And one of your former senior planners, Jason Campbell, is responsible for that. So I'll throw him under the bus right here and right now. He's watching, I promise you. There's a lot of red herrings that have come forth with this, but very honestly, the triple road frontage consists of Greer's Chapel, Cobb Parkway, and then a road called Marietta, or Mary-ADA. So we've got some strictures there with respect to turning movements. We've agreed to all those. There's no left in. There's a right out only. There's a right out, but it's restricted there for obvious reasons. But to be quite honest with you, and this is not something I'm just shooting from the hip from, all the properties that are down Marietta are rental properties and fall into state of disrepair. So as far as I know, there's no real established vested interest, and I guess that's why no one is here in opposition. But I won't get into potential opposition since there's none here. We submitted a stipulation letter on September the 28th, which you don't really see very often with variance applications, but we continued it from last time, and in talking with Commissioner Summerauer, it was determined that wouldn't hurt to have a stipulation letter, and more importantly, I've handed out to you what's a safety plan. And you said, what the heck is that? Well, a safety plan is not required by any zoning district except purpose-built student housing, but about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, I started using that kind of as a template and adjusting it to each site, but it covers operational aspects. It covers what can and can't be done, what can be used and not used. It tells about notification procedures and about keeping logs, about managerial overview, about video surveillance, which is monitored. It really covers the gambit, and it's also something that's submitted ultimately to the Cobb County Police Department. Not that they have to put their imprimatur of approval on it, but nevertheless, that's the protocols that I've set up for my client and ourselves on this one. So the variances we're asking for, as you can see, are nominal. In terms of the impervious surface from 70% to 72%, waiving that front setback on Marietta Drive. I'm not sure how that got to be a front side, but anyway, we're reducing that or requesting that be reduced. And then the parking, the required parking, we're asking that be reduced in a fairly small amount as well. So with having established the hardship by way of the physical characteristics and positioning of the property, we do respectfully request that you can follow your staff's recommendation, but there's no untoward staff comments in there that would keep you, I think, from approving this, and we respectfully request, Madam Chairwoman, that you do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to commend you on the safety plan. I think that's a really nice addition
Thank you.
and fits very well with this. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think, the news I get up and see every morning, it shows across the river some convenience store that's been, the scene of a crime, and nobody's fault, but it may be. And with this in place, at least you've got some safeguards and some remedies. But thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you. I read here, and thank you, Madam Chair, I read here that says prohibiting all left-in movements as a traffic comment number 1. And I would assume, just given the way this lays out, that folks are going to be taking a left into Greer's Chapel off of 41 if they're traveling south, and then they're going to take a left on Marietta or Marietta, and then they're going to take another left into here. Isn't that?
We see that point of ingress and egress, Mr. Blouin, is really being just an outlet. We're not concerned about the full operational movements or dedicated turning movements, but I will tell you that if I've got that worded differently than staff does, we're amenable to the way staff has worded that.
Okay. Let me ask you to identify for me in this print before us where the 54-inch water transmission line or water line is.
It's along the subject property's frontage. It runs parallel to Cobb Parkway. And not just our property. Mr. Davidson could probably tell you how far it extends, but it's a long one.
Would you have any structures on top of it?
No, sir.
Okay. And the electrical lines, where do they run?
The electrical lines, let me see, get an aerial photo. Well, they traverse the property, but there are no stanchions or the 100, I think they're 150 kV lines, but there are no structures, the big lattice-like structures. It's one of those huge power lines, but there's none of them.
Will they be going over the top of any gas pumps?
No, sir.
Will they be going over the top of the C-store that's going to be there?
I haven't looked at it in juxtaposition one to the other, Mr. Boyd.
Does your client know, one way or the other, how that lays out?
This is Sonny Mehta. I'm going to swear him in and let him respond to that.
Yes, so they're going to be running along Cobb Parkway, so they're not
Could you
going
tell us
above the
tell us
building.
your name first, please?
Yeah, my name is Sonny Mehta with Everest Developers, and for the gas lines, they're going to be running parallel to Cobb Parkway, so they're not going above any canopy or building or any structures.
So you're saying both the electrical lines and the gas lines run parallel to and near to Cobb
Cobb
Parkway?
Parkway, correct.
And certainly closer to Cobb Parkway than any structures you're going to be building on this property?
Yes, sir.
In each case?
Yes.
Okay. I have just one or two more. Are there, Garvison mentioned the mountain, and I'm just a little bit familiar. Sometimes even on the opposite side of a roadway from Kennesaw Mountain, you have some underground springs and such. Are you aware of any such activity here?
They fully engineered. I don't believe you mentioned that. They fully engineered the property.
No.
Okay.
No water.
So you had engineers out there, and there's no spring activity detected at all?
No, they haven't detected anything.
Okay.
And the site, Mr. Blouin, has been fully engineered. We have
Thank-
full set of plans.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Please be seated, sorry. Thanks. Are we ready to have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve V98 with staff comments.
I second it.
Please vote. It passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you for the
Madam Chairwoman,
presentation.
thank you so much. Ms. Summerall, good to see you.
Next case, Mr. Peterson.
Next case is variance case V103, Tamron King, request a variance to allow an 8-foot fence in front of and to the side of the house in a residential district, which is existing in land lot 198 of the 20th District. The property is located on the east side of Ackworth US Road, north of Stylesboro Road. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V103? No. Let the record says no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good afternoon. Can y'all hear me okay? Yes. All right, so my name is Tamron King. Very nervous right now. It's wonderful to be here, but I tell y'all a little bit about myself. I am 23 years old, and I bought my first house last November. And as far as the fence goes, the fence is for multiple reasons. Whenever I make a decision on something, it's not just for one purpose. It's for multiple reasons, multiple decisions that go into something. When we got this property, it's a house that was built back in the 60s. It's very close to the road, as you can kind of see, and it's noisy. Cars rip down this road, trucks, everything rip down this road, and it just shakes and rattles the house. And the fence has really helped reflect a lot of the noise, because my wife, she could not, it's my wife over here, Charity. We got married this May 14th of this past year. And it's just noisy. But so along with that, as a hobby, I raise Siberian Huskies and I train them as well. And they can jump and clear a 6-foot fence very easily. So for safety of people who walk along the front and everything like that, I want to have that fence to keep people safe, keep my dogs safe, these litters that I'm raising as a hobby. And that's really big things, is the noise, being able to sleep, being able to have some peace and keep my pets and everything safe. Yeah, is there any questions that y'all may have for me? I'd be more than happy to tell y'all a little more about myself or anything y'all may have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yes, can you go ahead and tell us, you said this is a hobby you have to raise Siberian Huskies?
Yes, sir.
What's your primary occupation?
I do lawn maintenance. Yeah.
Does your spouse work outside the home?
No, she works the company with me. She helps work.
She works in the lawn maintenance business with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. And did you bring any pictures of this fence with you today?
I have 2 pictures. Yes, I do.
Can you go ahead and show them to us?
Okay. So here's the view from the right side. You can kind of see it's a fence that's put up. I believe it looks very nice. I've never gotten any comments saying it looks bad at all. I'm waiting on, hopefully, for this to go through. That way I can finish staining it or painting it, because otherwise I don't want to waste any money that I don't really have money to just throw away on doing some more work to fully stain or paint it. And then it's the backside, the other way. You can see it's not obstructing any view of along the road at all. Yeah, those are the 2 main pictures I have. I believe Mr. Beloin, I also sent you a couple more.
Yes, I shared them with everyone. I think it was the same as the first one right there.
Yes, sir.
And you said you intend to stain that still, but you just haven't finalized staining that yet?
Right, because I don't want to spend all the money on the stain and then have to take it down, or it would be a waste. And like I said, my occupation is lawn maintenance, and I'm not super wealthy. I'm very young, just trying to get a hold and get going.
Okay. How much maintenance equipment do you store on this property on a regular basis?
A lawnmower, some lawnmowers.
How many?
About 2 to 3. Some of them will be in storage unit, in and out.
Tell me about the storage unit you have.
It's,
Is it visible whatsoever from Ackworth 2 West Road?
oh, no, it's not, it's off-site.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. There was one complaint from a neighbor complaining about thinking he heard a pressure washer early in the morning. Do you have any comments about that?
Right, so I clean my lawnmowers every week. That way my clients have a clean mower showing to their property. I sharpen my blades, I clean my mowers, and I try to have a very high level of service, reliability, dependability. I take care of my equipment, that way I can provide the best service to my clients.
All right.
So, yeah.
But so you treat your equipment on this property, though, as opposed to off-site?
Right, I wash my mowers.
Okay, would you be willing to restrict the hours in which you conduct such activities so you don't bother your neighbors?
Well, what are the ordinances on noise, may I ask?
I don't know. I'm going to ask our professional staff.
Okay.
But tell me what hours you are able to deal with this pressure washing and cleaning. Is it like on a weekend or?
So it's normally Thursdays or Fridays towards the end of the week, depending if I've finished my clients early or not. I would say it's usually in the morning time. I'll do it no earlier than 7 a.m. Because get up early, get it done. I like to get things done early in the morning, so I can get a good start to my day.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, if you or any of the other members of the BZA have any questions for the applicant,
Do you want to clarify the noise? Officer, not to put you on the spot, but I think it's isn't police the noise ordinance where it lives? I think it's 7 to 11, isn't it? 11 at night till 7 in the morning? Am I right?
The noise ordinance is enforced by the police department. As to the exact hours, I have to look that up in code, unless John knows.
It is set.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's,
fine.
yeah.
I have some more folks to ask questions of, but let me go ahead and just start with Amy Diaz. Just confirm she'll come up. You can have a seat for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Amy Diaz, DOT.
Okay. You've seen this fence, or at least pictures of it at this point, and you're familiar with the lay of the road as it traverses this area?
Yes.
Is there any concern about any line of sight issues that would adversely impact anyone entering the roadway here?
No.
Okay, thank you. And to the county staff, what considerations do we need to give to the activities you've heard about? What recommendations do you have as to how we should in any way limit or condition those activities?
The way that the noise ordinance is enforced, it's just for residential uses. It's not really contemplating these type of commercial uses. So I think we can, we can place an hour or hours when he could do things outside for this commercial business. I do want to ask him one question now, and you can just shake your head yes or no. When you sharpen the blades, is it inside or outside? Outside?
Outside would be best.
Okay, he says it's outside. So, I think the board can put conditions on the noise regarding his landscaping business and days also. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Boulain?
For the most part, what restrictions would you recommend? He basically said it's Thursdays and Fridays. He usually cleans his mowers and sharpens the blades on this site, if I understood correctly.
Well, in order to not disturb the neighbors too much, maybe put a condition that any power washing or maintenance of the mowers has to be done between 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. Any other restrictions at all that would appear to be necessary?
Well, it's just Thursdays and Fridays, correct?
Yeah, yes. Any other issues regarding code compliance at all with this property? that we need to consider?
Not that I'm aware of, Commissioner Boulogne.
Okay.
Commissioner, maybe we have the time frame for every day, because right now it's Thursday, he needs Thursday and Friday. It could be his business changes, and we just make that a standard. That's just a thought. It's up to you. But
Due to weather conditions.
yeah, due to weather, I mean, there's some variances that none of us can control.
Okay.
But that's just a thought.
Okay. And my understanding is that the applicant is willing to stain this fence as well. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and approve the variance, or my request would be for the approval of the variance. My motion is for approval of the variance, subject to the staff comments and subject also to the requirement that he stain the fence, and subject to the condition that he limit the noise being emitted from the property by only using power equipment, including pressure washers, from Tuesday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Mr. Peterson, I just have, for clarification, for this noise, when we add stipulations like this that are outside of our noise ordinance, is that going to create some sort of confusion when a neighbor calls in to the police department who enforces it? Will they have the understanding that there is a condition of the 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Stipulation that we put on this property?
Well, at this point in time, if the board adopts the condition, it'd be code enforcement enforcing it.
Okay. And so then the person would be calling code enforcement for them to come out?
That's correct. And I just want to make it clear that the noise that we're trying to prohibit is related only to his business. So if he's pressure washing his home to paint it, then that's fine within the hours. But we're just trying to reduce the impact the commercial business has to the neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Please allow my motion to stand amended by that comment.
I second that motion.
Please place your votes. It passes 5-0. Thank you. Next case, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, variance case V104, Brent Seeley requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is an approximately 235 square foot solar array panel, or solar panel array, to be to the front of the principal building, and number 2, reduce the front setback for the accessory structure, which is the existing approximately 235 square foot solar panel array, from required 35 feet to 27 feet in land lot 483 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Van Diver Drive, north of Priscilla Drive. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V104? No. Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
I don't know if these will show up. I don't have a color for them. There's some overhead. Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. Like the last individual, I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me.
Tell us your name, please, sir. So
Excuse me?
Please introduce yourself.
Yes.
And you have
My
to-
name is Brent Seeley. I own the home, 3132 Van Diver Drive. You're seeing here, anyway, I am, by day, I'm a software engineer for a company called Varian Medical Systems, and I work from home. given the COVID and supply chain issues, I've decided to start trying to source food locally, which I've done so. And part of that is beef and pork. I source that locally through a friend that's a farmer, and I buy sometimes a cow or a pig, a whole, and have it butchered and slaughtered. Subsequently, I have 2 large chest freezers in my basement, and one of the reasons I built the structure in question is to put solar panels. We've had multiple power outages in our neighborhood over the years, some that have lasted 3 and 4 days. The investment in that kind of quantity of food to be frozen is a couple $1,000s. So what I didn't know at the time was the ordinance about building out front. Prior to building this, I spoke to all my neighbors that could visually see that from their front porch, 2 of which are here, and asked them if they had any objections to this being built. None of them had any objections. And the signatures of all those neighbors are on the variance. What you see here is the top down. I just took a shot of that so you could see it from straight down. There's 3 others that have 31, 31, 31, or from across the street, the 3 neighbors across the street from their driveway. So this is one neighbor that's uphill from me. Then the next one you'll see is almost parallel, or driveways meet. This is downhill from me, but that's fine. And the owner of that house is here with me. And then there's, should be, yeah, one more. And that is from directly across the street. Our driveways almost run, parallel. And that other neighbor's here with me. So going through the process of trying to place solar panels became a little bit challenging. I'd looked at placing them in the backyard. There's an overhead, but I don't know if you can see the backyard. And you can see, I don't know if you can see the very back, but the backyard is completely covered by trees. All the way around, all 3 sides, 2 of which sides these trees are rather large and would need to be trimmed extensively, and none of which are on my property. So I could not trim these trees. It would be cost prohibitive. And the one place if you're looking at my property on the left-hand side, is a rental property, and which is now vacant. But the owner lives in California someplace. And anyway, I couldn't get trees trimmed enough and far enough down to get enough sun exposure for the solar panels to be efficient. So the reason I picked this location, I thought it was the least intrusive, back as far away I could get from the street and still get full sun exposure. These then feed a battery backup solution, which when the power goes out, I can plug in the 2 chest freezers and my refrigerators so I don't lose any food. I entertained a generator, but I just thought that was too noisy. It'd be, I don't know, if the power's out, I don't want a generator running next to me for the next 3 days. They're loud and obnoxious, and solar panels are quiet. So that's kind of the reason I went this route. And it was to secure my investment in buying large quantities of meat. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have related to this.
When did you install the solar panels?
I'm going to say they've been there about 11 months. They were up 3 or 4 months before. There was a complaint filed. I don't know who filed it. But I can't, I mean, all my neighbors have signed saying they're fine with it, so
In our discussions, you had mentioned you had just put on a new roof. When did you have that
I
done?
did entertain that, but I just put a 30-year architectural roof in. It was about 2 years ago, and it voids the warranty of the roof. As soon as you put a hole in it, you're 32, the warranty for materials and time later, labor, or null and void. So that's one of the reasons I didn't put it on the roof.
Well, even though your neighbors have signed off on this particular variance request, there's still the code enforcement complaint, and we've discussed several, we discussed putting it on the roof, we discussed moving it to the backyard, trimming the trees, and there really didn't seem to be a good solution. I understand the reason that you did this, but unfortunately, I cannot recommend that the solar panel array remain as is. So my motion is to deny your request.
I second it. For discussion, I live up in the I have a place up in the mountains, and we constantly have issues with our power going out, and there are whole house generators that aren't loud and obnoxious that run when our power goes out, and I would just really suggest that you look into that versus the solar power running. That's just my comment. I know what it's like to have your power outage and have something as valuable as your meat, but I would suggest that you look at a whole house generator. And there's lots of them out there that aren't the old-fashioned where you turn it on and it runs really loud. We have neighbors, you don't even hear it. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did investigate that. They're about $8,000 to $10,000. It was cost prohibitive for me to do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to the staff, what are our regulations, if any, regarding solar arrays in front yards?
They are treated like any other accessory structure, so when they're detached in a house like this, it's treated as an accessory structure. That's why he's in for the variance. If this was on his roof, then he wouldn't be here right now.
Okay. So because it's on the front yard, we would kind of look at it in terms of trying to, if and to the extent we're going to approve these, we would want to soften the appearance so they'd be aesthetically pleasant from the road. Would that be part of what staff would anticipate would look toward?
That's correct. And we had something similar to this, I think around, within a pretty short distance of this on, I think, Night Lane or Night Road, where it's very similar to this. And, that did come to the Board of Zoning Appeals and it was approved, but they did require him to put in some extra landscaping to help kind of hide it from the front and side views.
Okay.
And I think that's an opportunity here. Can I ask the applicant one question? What is the lifespan of something like this? How many years is this going to be here for?
The solar panels?
Yeah.
Well, the lifespan of the solar panels are 20 years. I bought them used to be cost effective, and they're about 3 years old, so 18 years.
Okay. But getting back to what I was saying, Commissioner Blount, there's a way to soften this with landscaping, I think, if the board chooses to go that way.
Okay. Was any consideration given to requiring some sort of a retaining wall or something be built, or fencing be required with landscaping in front of it, so the undercarriage wouldn't be seen at all?
That was not a consideration from staff. I think that would even bring it out even more if you put up fencing to kind of hide it. I think your best bet is if the board's willing to consider approval, soften it with some landscaping along the front of it.
Yeah, but that, of course, would still leave the panels visible from the road, so it's really a function of aesthetic considerations there, huh? Okay, thank you.
We currently have a motion and a second. Are we prepared to vote? Do we need further conversation? All right, you ready to vote? So we're approving your denial.
And is there a time frame for that? Does he have
We need,
30, 60, 90 days to,
90 days.
90 days from today's date? Okay.
You done? Thank you.
yeah, yes, yes. We did not approve the variance. I want you to understand that. The motion was to not approve your variance.
You did not. Oh, that was denied.
Yes, sir, that was the motion. All right, we have some is that
No, we
complete?
got one more.
116.
Oh,
One more.
okay, sorry about that. I got the wrong agenda in front of me.
Okay, next case is variance case V116. David Lau requests a variance to, number one, allow a 7-foot 3-inch fence to the front and side of a non-residential building, which is existing. And number two, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 160 square foot frame shed to the side of the principal building, which is also existing in land lot 1207 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Harris Drive, north of Hazelwood Drive. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V116?
No.
Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Thanks for keeping me straight. You're welcome. Please come forward and state your name for the record, please, ma'am.
I did. They're not in order, but if you can click around.
Hello, my name is Dora Liu. I represent David Liu in this variance application at 25 Harris Drive. For the first request with regard to the fence height, we have observed, let me just, so this is at the street. So behind the tree is the storage shed. You hardly ever see that storage shed because of the tree branches is blocking the storage. Let me see here.
Side to side.
Oh, side to side, sorry.
There you go.
So this is the fence in question. Right now, I think when I responded to Miss Summer Hour, I thought it's 29 feet from the street. Actually, it is the setback of the house is 70 feet. And also the lot kind of sloped down, so about 2 feet. So the fence height from where it's built is 7 feet and 3 inches. But from the street level, it's less than 6 feet. This is another view of the storage shed. You can see because of the tree in front, you cannot see that storage shed. It's right behind it. And we do observe in our neighborhood, which is like GC, general commercial area, there are many houses with the storage shed kind of in the similar situation as ours. We ask them, and they say they have variance. I think these are just a few we find. And also the fence height. Out of 20 houses in the neighborhood, there are about 16 houses with the fence higher than 6 feet. Most of them are 8 feet. These are a few examples. We bought this house and we stored, we have the stone slabs stored in the backyard. At the same time, we applied for the temporary land use permit last week for just temporary. It was approved for 12 months. So the fence, both the fence height and the storage shed kind of blocks the view from the traveling public from the street. And another thing is I communicated with Ms. Summer. It's because of our storage of the stone slabs in the backyard, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to move the storage shed back. But once we move out the stone slabs, it will be very easy to do it. We bought this house. When we bought the house, the storage shed came with the house, and right now the house itself is vacant, and we just store the slabs there as a temporary kind of hardship measure. We hope, we're determined to move all those slabs from the premise within 12 months. So we are asking for the variance, if not permanent, at least for 12 months. So once we move out the stone slabs, so we can keep things under compliance. Thank you so much. If you have questions.
All right, what is the purpose of the shed?
Right now, it's just a shield from the street. If we move that, we have to build another fence, like a section of the fence. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's not used for anything. There's no access, no one really go in there and access things. It's kind of vacant, like the inside is vacant.
Is the fence between your house and the shed and your next door neighbor, is that fence there new?
Yes, there's a fence on the side.
Yeah, it looked new. Do you know the height of that fence?
The height of that fence is about probably 7.3 because we built at the same time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in this shed and the sheds you took pictures of around your area is this one had a complaint. So that's why the shed is needing to be moved or removed. I will leave that up to you as to how you would like to handle that. And you'll have 60 days would be my motion regarding the shed. And in regards to the fence, you do have quite a lot of stuff back there that the people going by shouldn't need to see. So I will allow the 7-foot 3-inch fence to remain. But my motion would be to move the shed to the back of the structure or remove it entirely within 3 months.
Yeah, if we move that to the back, it will make the moving of the slabs extremely difficult because of the space issue. It's not we don't want to. It's so it's really extremely difficult. And moving to somewhere else, we consider that option. Right now, we cannot find any. It's very, can we get 12 months? So we move together.
You've been notified of this code issue since the beginning of last year. So you've ignored it for months and months and months. So I really think it needs to be addressed in a timely fashion from today. So my motion stands.
Regarding the complaints from the labor, I think labor, because initially when we move in the slabs, she was not happy because of the noise and the things. But ever since we settled, and she has not complained, and she actually gave me flowers, and so we are on a good relationship right now. I think initially she just not happy, and she tried to find anything to complain. I know we shouldn't do that, but I think that's the reason she complained about that storage shed, because from her side, it really not intrude on her or not, like.
I have a couple questions. What is your plan for removing the slabs? Are you doing that on a one-off basis? Are you having people come by weekly? Or are you selling the entire inventory to a company?
We used to have a business for the stone slab. We sell to the fabricator. We are the distributor. We had a warehouse in Fulton Industrial in Fulton County. In COVID, through the COVID, our business shut down. And we were actually evicted because we don't have business, and it's hard to move that slabs. That was the reason why it was moved in a hurry and without a lot of planning and foresight. It's very difficult to pick up the business. So our plan is to find another proper place to store it. We don't know how to dispose it, or like until we find somebody who can take the whole thing. So basically, we want to liquidate it. So we are actively looking for a place in the industrial area, maybe far away from Atlanta, and but the moving is very expensive and very dangerous. It's very heavy. So if there's any other inventory, we probably can just move that to a warehouse temporarily until we find the permanent place we can move again. But this one we spend, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000 to move it, because you have to pick up one piece by piece. It is really a hardship. It's very difficult.
Since there's a motion on the floor to remove the storage shed, in removal of the storage shed, would you then consider it's going to be much more visible to the street? So would you consider, in your motion to remove the storage shed, would you consider them putting up maybe a temporary type of fencing that has screening, rather than invest in another wooden fence, but something that would not be as costly as, well, I guess whatever you would determine. But I think that in removal of the storage shed I really think there needs to possibly be to consider some sort of fencing.
Yes, I was going to amend my motion to add in that whatever type of fence you would like to add to shield the back of your business from the street would be appropriate once you get the shed gone, based on our code.
I don't, sorry, I didn't hear clearly what you said.
My motion is regarding the shed, to move it to the back or remove it completely. And once that's gone, that will open up view of your yard, your backyard, and that you would need to add some sort of fencing, whether it be wood like you just added along between your neighbor's line, or vinyl chain link type of thing, just to shield it from view from the street. So that would be my motion.
That will, from the traveling public, that will be almost the same. They cannot see that. I know we should be punished because of the time to address it. Can we pay a fine, and so that we can have 12 months to remove it? Because I do understand it's because we have to pay for the consequences, but moving from the effect to the public, like to the view, remove it and put a fence there is almost the same as the current situation. But can we pay a monetary fine? I don't know whether this is even permissible, but
We really either say yes or no with stipulations. We are not in a position to negotiate. And I appreciate the fact you're very good at that, but we need to make a decision on what the request is. And we need to make a motion that reflects what we have decided.
okay.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair, I would request and suggest that the motion is restated very clearly, and then we could go from there. I know that we've already had a motion. I don't know that we've had a second. But if she could just restate the motion and articulate what the stipulations are.
All right, my motion regarding V116, the fence as is, you're granted a variance. The accessory structure being the shed that's right beside the house must be moved or removed within 90 days. This matter you have known about since the beginning of 2021. So it must be addressed within 90 days. You will need to put some sort of fencing that's acceptable regarding our code, so you would need to check on that. That will shield your contents in your backyard from street view, and I believe that covers my motion.
A second.
Are there any more questions any more questions? All right, are we prepared to vote? Yes. Motion approved, 5-0. Mr. Peterson, thank you. All right, at this point in time, we just have some housekeeping. Has everyone had time to review the minutes from our variance hearing on September 14th, as well as minutes from our special call meeting on October 10th? And if so, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve both the work session and last month's BZA hearing meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All right, please vote. Minutes are approved. Now I'll entertain a motion for us to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So, second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. We are adjourned.